Hi you guys, we're back with my Crypto 101 series, and today I'll be going over the Polkadot platform and the DOT cryptocurrency coin, okay you guys? Now, I'll be going into deep detail about the price, okay? Because although it has so much utility, the price has plummeted in the past few years. I mean, it went from highs of $55 to lows of $1.13 in 2026. But as of March 14th of this year, so about 2 weeks ago, Polkadot announced a whole new type of framework that they're going to have, which they think is going to save their coin in the long run. So I'm going to give you all the information and you let me know if you think it can be saved. But before we get started, welcome back to Getting Digital with Deja. So the white paper for the Polkadot platform was created and launched in 2016 by the co-founder of Ethereum, which is going to be Gavin Wood, okay? And in 2017, they created and launched the Web3 Foundation, which raised over $200 million to support the Polkadot platform's launch, okay? And the way they raised that $200 million was literally by selling the DOT token, okay? That's how much faith the public in the crypto world had in this platform. They were able to raise $200 million off of a coin that really wasn't even launched yet. So the market cap of the DOT coin is going to be around $2.1 billion. The max supply is also 2.1 billion tokens. And then on top of that, it has a current circulating supply of 1.7 billion tokens of the 2.1 billion tokens that exist or that are going to exist in the ecosystem. The DOT token had an all-time high of $55 back in November of 2021 and an all-time low of $1.13 back in February of this year, February 2026. Now, as you can see, from $55 to $1.13. That is insane, okay? But I'm going to tell you exactly why the price has been plummeting over the past few years and what Polkadot says it's going to do to pick that price back up and get its momentum going again. So let's first dive a little bit deeper inside of the tokenomics for the DOT coin. Now, the market capitalization is a result essentially of the total amount of coins that they have, so the max supply, times the price of the coin, so times the price of per coin. So that landed at about $2.1 billion as of today. So initially when I was making this video for this coin, I was just going to do a deep dive inside of the coin, tell you its consensus mechanism and everything that it stands for and everything like that. But then when I saw an old article from 2024 saying that the market cap was like $6.7 billion, and I was like, I'm going to make sure this is accurate. I went and I looked from 2024 to now in 2026, it went from like $6.7 billion to around $2.1 billion. So as you can see, the amounts in circulation are about the amount of max supply plus the price of the coin have a huge correlation in the market capitalization. So then that led me on a whole rabbit hole like, whoa, why did the market cap drop and the price drop from in 2024 to in 2026? And then I found out it was $55 in 2021 and I'm like, hold up, y'all. That's why I'm gonna make a whole video talking about the price dynamics of this coin. So the price of Polkadot has dropped over 96% since its high in 2021. And it's due to a lot of different reasons like low adoption, high inflationary rates, and then also on top of that, it is kind of outdated. So when I say that Polkadot is outdated, I'm basically meaning that its ecosystem is not like a layer 2 solution, okay? It's actually considered a layer 0, all right? Now, we're gonna get into that in just a second, but I want to give you a little bit of dynamics of what I mean by this. So, Cardano, it is transactions per second. At first, with its layer 1 solution, was 1,000 transactions per second and lower, okay? Then it adopted a layer 2 solution, and now it's up to 1 million transactions per second and lower, okay? Now, when you have this layer 2 solutions, it's literally just making scalability and efficiency better for the network and for the ecosystem, okay? Now, Polkadot is considered a layer 0. it's considered a layer 0. So even though its transactions per second is higher than like Bitcoin, it's still considered a layer 0 because it is a lot different than the traditional blockchain. Okay, so I'm going to get into what I mean by the different layers. So I'm going to go over the textbook definition for layer 0 and layer 1, and then how layer 2 is different on this type of Polkadot ecosystem. Alrighty. So the relay chain, which we're going to go over in just a second, is layer 0. Polkadot's main chain handles security and consensus. So the main chain of Polkadot handles its security and consensus and allows other blockchains to be able to function on their blockchain. Okay, so that layer 0 blockchain is literally just for consensus and security. All right, so that's why it's a layer 0. All right, now we have layer 1. Layer 1 are the parachains, which are individual blockchains that connect to the relay chain, serving as specialized chains with their own tokens and applications, okay? So remember when I said these different blockchains can run on the layer 0 Polkadot chain and be able to function and still have the security and the consensus of the main chain. Now let's go over the differences, okay? Unlike layer 2 solutions that solely scale a single L1 chain, Polkadot allows independent L1s to function with shared security, okay? So L1s can function on the Polkadot platform and have their own type of characteristics, their own functionality, okay? Anything it wants to do, they can do it, including making its own token. Now we're going to go over that in deeper detail, but let's hop back to the tokenomics. You see how I'm doing with you guys? I'm giving y'all a little bit of information and I'm making you go back and wait for the other information. Do you like that? Do you like that? I'm just kidding, you guys. Okay, so let's go to why the price of Polkadot has been plummeting over the years and why it's so low. So we went over first the high competition and it being outdated. You have all these layer 2 solutions which have way higher transactions per second and scalability and efficiency. Now, the next one that we're going to have is their inflationary model, and I'm going to give you the textbook definition for that. So, historically, a high annual token supply increase around 10% diluted the value, deterring long-term investors. On March 14, 2026, it went from about 2.5 billion to 3.5 billion of their supply to a hard cap of 2.1 billion. At first, it had a lack of a maximum of supply. So some of these coins that I go over starting now, they don't have a max supply, okay? They just keep circulating and things like that and creating more as the network gains more momentum and as time goes by, okay? And that's exactly what this does. It created an inflationary type of model. So it's adding more coins, about 10%, to the ecosystem, okay? It wasn't taking any away. So the amount of supply was ranging from about 2.5 billion to 3.5 billion, okay? That is not good for the network. There's no scarcity. Okay, when you have that much and then there's no cap, there's no maximum, there's no scarcity. So then there's no value, essentially, you know? All right, people love things that are scarce, that are hard to come by. Okay, it makes them feel special. Now, when you have something that's super easy to come by, you're not going to pay a whole bunch of money for it. I'm just telling you right now. Okay, it was good when it first started, but as it went further down the road and all these other layer 2 cryptocurrencies and ecosystems started emerging, it was like detrimental, okay? Especially when all these other cryptocurrency ecosystems have deflationary methods on their ecosystem. So that means they're burning coins. That means they're making their coins more scarce as the time goes by. They're not adding more coins, okay? So as of March 14th, again, of this year, Polkadot was like, no, we're having a hard cap, a maximum supply of 2.1 billion tokens, all right? That's it. And that is how they plan to get their foot back into the game, okay? It's by creating a maximum supply to create some sense of scarcity and value to the coin, okay? Because right now it's priced at $1.27. That's really, really low, you guys. $1.27. And you know what's even crazier? When this coin first came out, it had so much hype behind it because of its utility, right? Because it's basically allowing these different blockchains to communicate with each other and share data with each other, okay? That usually they wouldn't have been able to do. Now, it is not an oracle. I want to get that understood. It's not an oracle. I'm going to go over fully what its utility is after I go around the price dynamics. So just remember, it's not an oracle. But they were calling it the Ethereum killer at one point. The whole social media was calling it Ethereum killer because it was literally like a competition and alternative to Ethereum. And they thought it was going to take over Ethereum. you see the price of Ethereum. Ethereum is literally number 2 cryptocurrency in the world. And Polkadot is not even top 20. Not even there. It's not even there. It's crazy, all right? And also along the years, it has experienced a decrease in adoption. So right now it has a low adoption because of the really small amount of transactions per second, the transaction volume that it has as well. And then on top of that, it's very kind of like a complicated ecosystem to navigate. There's other easier platforms to navigate. And then it is very late to the D-app game, all right? It was pretty late to, getting that whole type of sector together when you have other platforms like Solana and Ethereum and ADA and XRP, all these other ones who are really like going in on the D apps. Polkadot was behind. So Polkadot was launched in 2020, but it had the hype, the all-time highs in 2021, okay? And I'm going to go over exactly what was happening in that price environment to give it the all-time high of about $55. Straight from the notes, you guys, all right? So Polkadot reached its all-time high of $55 in late 2021 due to the launch of its parachain auctions, which created intense demand and reduced supply by locking up millions of tokens. This was fueled by the 2021 broader crypto market euphoria, high investor interest in Web3 and interoperability, and its reputation as a potential top Ethereum killer. Remember I told you about the Ethereum killer? Clock it. Okay. In 2021, Polkadot introduced parachain functionality, allowing projects to lease slots for interoperable blockchains. Investors locked up, or aka staked, substantial amounts of DOT to support projects, drastically reducing the circulating supply and creating a supply shock. So remember I told you, scarcity increases value. Scarcity increases price. Okay, so they were locking up millions of tokens for these projects, okay, because of the introduction of the parachains, which are chains that are parallel to the main chain, okay? I'm going to go over all of that right now. I'm not going to make you wait any longer to hear the utility behind this coin. So it's what you've been waiting for, the utility behind this token, all right? I'm going to give you the full utility behind this token, okay? It is a little bit lengthy, but I'm giving you the textbook definition because that's how we do it around here, all right, you guys? So how Polkadot works. Polkadot blockchain attempts to break down the barriers between various blockchain ecosystems, allowing intermediary-free communication among these networks. The project's vision is to enable tokens and data to be transferred across all blockchains, creating the foundation for Web3 and removing bottlenecks. In this vision, people's data won't be gathered and used against their wishes by corporations or centralized entities. Polkadot allows vastly different blockchain architectures to interact with each other to facilitate the goals behind Web3. It does this through parachains, which are specialized blockchains with their own functionality and tokens, okay? All right, you guys, so now let's go a little bit deeper into these parachains. So parachains are blockchains that can be ran independently and are completely customized by its owner. They can host any type of application, and the features and characteristics and programming of this app is going to be in the hands of the developer, of the owner, okay? So there's no limitations, only the imagination of the person who created it is its limitation. Now these parachains run parallel, okay, on the relay chain, which is the foundational layer 0 chain that we talked about previously, okay? So it's this main blockchain that is allowing all of these other blockchains to run on it independently, okay? And the relay chain is going to be used for the consensus and the security. It's handling all the data and transactions and things like that. And that is what that relay chain is going to be used for. So basically with these parachains, you're making your own blockchain, your own developer customizations and everything like that, and then you are using the security of the main foundational chain, which is going to be the relay chain. So let's go over the textbook definition for relay chains. The relay chain validates data and ensures that it is understandable. It's responsible for achieving consensus and ensuring that transactions are executed. It is the central foundational blockchain in a multi-chain network, which is going to be Polkadot, okay? That coordinates blockchains that are specialized blockchains, which are going to be the parachains, okay? It provides shared security, consensus, and interoperability, enabling parallel transaction processing and cross-chain communication, rather than processing transactions sequentially like traditional blockchains. To maximize efficiency, relay chains often focus solely on consensus, leaving smart contract functionality to the attached parachains. The relay chain allows the entire network to be highly scalable and efficient, with parachains acting as independent, specialized chains connected to this central hub. So I think that was an amazing definition. If you have any questions on that, I'm here to answer. But if you didn't understand it, I'm going to explain it for you, okay? So essentially what these parachains are doing is they're going to be connecting to the main Polkadot chain, the relay chain, that is going to be allowing all these other blockchains to operate on its main platform, on its main blockchain, okay? Now these parachain has their own rules and everything. They just all have one thing in common, which is going to be their consensus, okay, and the security of the network. It's going to be all handled by the Polkadot main chain, which is going to be the relay chain, okay, you guys? Now, the consensus is pretty easy. It's just a proof of stake. It's a nomination proof of stake. So it is a little bit different from the regular typical proof of stake, but it's nothing too crazy. So there are 3 types of stakeholders that exist on this POS type of a consensus mechanism for Polkadot. So first we have the nominators. So the nominator is essentially going to be nominating a validator. So they're going to be staking some of their DOT cryptocurrency to these validators, okay, to have them validate these transactions. So if they validate it good, everything goes through and they're not malicious, they get a cut of the rewards that the validator gets because they stake their cryptocurrencies for the validator to be able to validate it. Now, if the validator acts maliciously at all, they are actually going to lose the cryptocurrency that they stake towards that validator, okay? Even if themselves as a nominator had nothing to do with it, because you nominated that validator and they were malicious, you're going to be punished with them as well, okay? It's much like, you know, in the real world, you have crime, okay? Guilty by association. You know, you are an accessory to a crime, okay? If you were just in the car during a robbery and then the people got in the car after they robbed the bank and they drove off with you in the car, you are an accessory to the crime and you are going to be punished along with those same people who robbed the bank. So it's the same thing for this. And then you have what they call collators, and I'm going to give you the textbook definition for that. Collators require less involvement than validators. They're responsible for keeping a record of valid parachain transactions and sending them to validators on the relay chain. Okay, so these collators are literally grouping these transactions and stuff and sending them to the validators. Okay, so that's just a small little part, the role that they play. Now, when it gets to the validators are just validating. It's nothing crazy that's going on. It's just proof of stake. They're staking their cryptocurrency and they are abiding by the consensus mechanism and they are trying to validate and confirm the transactions so they can be added onto the blockchain, okay? While they are still staking their own cryptocurrency, which is why it's called a POS. And they're getting these transactions again from the collators, okay? The collators are handing it to them and then they're going through and finishing out the process. Then you have what they call fishermen, the less intensive and requirement type of participant on the network. So fishermen are literally just fishing for anybody who are doing bad and malicious things on the networks. So they're looking for malicious validators or anybody handling any malicious activity or anything, and they are going to be reporting that activity to the network, okay? That is how all of that goes. So you have the nominators, the collators, the validators, and the fishermen. And as far as governance goes, the users and the holders of the coin are the ones who are going to be essentially voting on the protocol and any updates that are happening to the network. Now let's get into the bridges, okay? And I'm going to give you the textbook definition for that. Okay. Polkadot also uses bridges which connect blockchains and allow data to be transferred among them. Bridges establish interoperability and can be used to connect with external networks like Bitcoin and Ethereum. So now let's get into the economics and the really niche details about these parachains and how they operate on the system. So in order for a parachain to be able to operate on the ecosystem, it's going to have a lease. Okay, it's either going to be leasing or it's going to be on demand. So when you're leasing, it's up to 2 years or it can be up to 1 year, and you have to bid, okay, which is going to be staking your DOT cryptocurrency. The network is going to use a verified random function to pick who they choose is going to be operating on the network, okay? So these slots are literally leased out, okay, to different companies, developers, individuals, whatever, okay? And they're only leased out if you stake that DOT cryptocurrency. So you have crowdfunding or you can stake your own cryptocurrency. Now, I have a video that gets so deep into this, and I think they explained it so amazing, and it's actually from the Polkadot platform themselves. Like, it's from the actual platform. So I'm going to link it for you guys to see it, okay? I'm not going to go into the whole economics of the auctioning because it is very niche and detailed, and I want you guys to get every single detail because I could have made a whole video about that myself. But I want you to understand exactly how it happens. So if you're interested in seeing the auctioning process, like the time frame and the requirements and things like that, I'm going to link the video here. But just to give you a little bit of idea for it, these different companies and blockchains, essentially what they're going to do to be able to run their own independent blockchain on the Polkadot platform, they're going to essentially have to bid, put in a bid, and that bid is going to last for however long the network says it's going to last, okay? You never know how long that auction is going to last for. And that is because they don't want anybody being unfair, okay? So they don't want anybody placing a specific amount of bid at the very last minute or at the very beginning or something like that because they see how it's going and things like that. No, you can't do that. You won't do that. It's a candlestick type of bidding, okay? So essentially what I mean by that is early back in the days when they did auctionings, what they would do is people are bidding prices and stuff like that, and they would light a candle and they would just wait for that candle wick to go all the way out, and that's when the bidding and the auction would end, okay? And they would take the highest bidder or, things of that such. So that's exactly how this is. But these bidders cannot see that candlestick. They can't see that wick. They can't see how long it's going to be up for. They can't. It's very random whenever they pick who they want to be on the network, okay? So again, you have the parachains where you can lease it, okay? And that's going to be for 2 years or for 1 year, and you can lease it. And then the cryptocurrency that you staked to even bid to get into that auction, you're going to get it right back as soon as your project ends. As soon as your lease ends, you get it right back instantly, okay? Now, if you don't want to do that, but you still want to use the Polkadot ecosystem, Polkadot platform, and run and operate your blockchain on there, this is what you can do. You can do the on-demand blockchain, okay? I'm going to give you the textbook definition for that. So, on-demand parachains are smaller scale versions of the parachain that works on demand. On-demand slots are useful for blockchains that don't require continuous connectivity to the Polkadot network. You pay for your block space on a per block basis rather than leasing a dedicated slot. They offer the same security as regular parachains, but they share relay chain cores with other chains, providing a more flexible pay-as-you-go and cost-effective alternative. It enables developers to use Polkadot's high-speed and secure environment for a lower variable cost, making it ideal for projects that have sporadic activity rather than consistent high-volume transaction needs. Okay, so essentially what they're saying is you have some blockchains that are going to be needing to be running continuously, connected continuously, and that's why they're leasing those spots so that they can have the support of the relay chain, okay? Now, you have these on-demand chains and these on-demand companies that are like, we don't need it to run continuously. We don't need it continuously. We just need it on demand. We need it right now, okay? We need it for this specific amount of time right now. And you can pay for that. You pay as you go, all right? So now you're probably wondering, well, how do these parachains even get to be developed? Like, how does a developer create an independent blockchain to be placed on the relay chain? I got you. It's called a substrate, and I got the textbook definition of that as well, all right? So a substrate is a blockchain development framework designed by Parity, which is the company behind Polkadot. It's vital to the project's offerings because developers can create their blockchains using it. Its design allows teams, companies, and individuals to focus on building a parachain, as the framework takes care of much of the initial legwork of designing a blockchain. So essentially, they're giving you like the blueprint of how to do it and giving you the tools and kind of doing it for you, and you just add your customizations, your features, and your final touches to it, okay? So they're not making you engineer a complete blockchain all by yourself. No, they're giving you the tools and everything that you need to complete it, and then you're adding on to it. So this is like an example of the ISO 22 network, okay? ISO 22, I have a whole video about that. They're essentially giving you the framework, giving you everything you need to create your own financial system for these big enterprises and governments and things like that. But you add your own touches on it. However you want it to look, however you want it to operate, you have full control over it, but it is going to be ran on that type of platform, on the ISO 22 platform. All right. So just wanted to create that correlation because you guys know how important ISO 22 is. So to wrap all this up, Polkadot fell from an all-time high in 2021 to an all-time low in 2026. Now, the reason why it was at an all-time high before is because it introduced parachains, which are independent blockchains that can run on the relay chain, which is going to be the Polkadot platform. So the Polkadot platform is responsible for the security and the consensus of the blockchains, and those independent blockchains run on that relay blockchain, but they are independent. They can do whatever they want, and it is up to the imagination of the developer. Now, including in that, you have to be able to lease these slots to be able to have your parachain running on the relay chain, or you can have on-demand slots, which is where you pay as you go. Now, the reason why the Polkadot price continues to be so low is because of low adoption, and then also on top of that, it lacks upgrades. Okay, it needs to upgrade to like some layer 2 solutions and things like that. It lacks those upgrades, and it is complicated to use compared to its competitors, and it had an inflationary type of model to where it was adding more coins to the network and just really upping the supply of the network. There was no maximum supply, there was no cap. Okay, now the reason why I said that they are coming for a comeback is because they said, as of March 14th of 2026, they said, no, we're having a hard cap, a hard maximum supply of 2.1 billion tokens. So they are no longer just living freely and allowing as many to be in supply and circulation as they want to be. No, they have a hard cap, which is going to create scarcity, okay, which is going to up the value, because when something is scarce, it's more valuable and the price goes up. So this was created about 2 weeks ago, this 2.1 billion total maximum supply of tokens. So that is relatively new, and I'm going to keep you guys updated on anything else, any other upgrades they have to be able to come for an even bigger comeback. So this making the maximum supply 2.1 billion is a big move, but they need to do a lot more to get their foot running back and into the game, okay? Because you have other layer 2 solutions and other blockchains that can do similar things that have way more transaction speeds and then way more transaction volumes and adoptions, okay? So while they are coming for a comeback, this is relatively new what they're doing with this maximum supply, and they may even adopt a layer 2 solutions type of framework. Who knows, okay? But that is it for today's video, you guys. We went over Polkadot, which was used to be way up here and now it's way down here. It's currently experiencing its all-time low, okay? From an all-time high of $55 to an all-time low of $1.13, over 97% drop, okay, you guys? Now, that is it for today. We went over everything about Polkadot, okay? And I also have the video that you can watch. I'll put it on the screen about the auctioning process, where Polkadot actually talks about how the auctioning works. So it's like you get it straight from the source, all right, you guys? If you're into that, do it. Watch it. Take notes. Okay, you guys, but I will be back tomorrow with another cryptocurrency coin. And again, like I said, if you want me to go over any coins, go ahead and drop it in the chat, in the comments. I will be going over it, I promise. Just try not to do meme coins and any other type of coins for right now, especially like stable coins, because I haven't gotten to that in my series yet. So keep it to the regular like altcoins, okay, you guys? But of course, if you do put any of those coins in there, I will go over it eventually, okay? Now, with all that said, don't forget that pretty girls can do crypto too. Toodles.